this is Barbara, otherwise known as the East Coast Dragon Lady, here with Keven, the English mystic. So we are going to, I'll let Keven introduce himself, but I'll tell you briefly how I met Keven. So last year, I keep thinking Dragon Thunder was a year ago, and it was this year. But actually, I think it was the end of last year. I connected with Keven because of dragons. Somebody had actually sent me his link to your website and said, I think you need to check in with this guy. So I did. And then fast forward to a few months later, and he was telling me about Dragon Thunder. And then before we knew it, I was actually co-host to the International Dragon Thunder, which was really a blast. And this is how this Dragon Hour came about, because my dragon said, after you've done all this Dragon Thunder and brought all these people together, there's going to be more people wanting more dragon things. So you need to create something. They gave me sort of just, you need to create something, but you need to do it now. So I created this just before Dragon Thunder. So I've been inviting, and actually I'd said to several people said, do it weekly. And I said, I don't know enough people to do it weekly. No, I'm going to do it monthly. And then by the time I said that, I had booked through the rest of this year. And I've actually got people booked for the beginning of next year now. So all different types of dragon encounters. But I think that this is, and Keven does one as well, once a month, which I'm sure you'll talk about as well, which is people that have come to Dragon Thunder or signed up through Dragon Thunder. So thank goodness for the internet is all I can say, because probably none of us would be sitting here right now. Right? So I'm going to let Keven introduce himself. If you haven't already muted, please mute yourself. If you have questions, either put them in, I don't know, Keven, how do you want to do it? Do you want questions in the chat, or do you want them to interrupt?
Stick them in the chat, and then if I sort of run out of breath, we can say, oh, there's a few questions, and we can look at them.
Okay, great.
But yeah, if somebody wants to interrupt, that's fine as well.
All right. Yeah, so I'll follow the chat, and I'll hand it over to you, Keven. So I'm on the East Coast of the United States, and Keven is in England.
Yeah, I'm in England. Hello, everybody. Lovely to see you all. I'm in Devon, which is the southwest corner. It goes down to Land's End, and then it disappears off. And if you go across that sea, it goes to the US of A. So that's where I am. It's a beautiful place. I used to live in London for most of my life, so that's where most of my accent's from, South London. But I've moved all around the country. I've been in the north and the south, and so yeah, I was 12 miles from London, so most of my life was London based, and I spent most of my time trying to escape to live in the countryside. And when all the lockdowns occurred, there was a chance then to work from home from anywhere, so that's why I came down here. And yeah, so my background for nearly 40 years, 4 decades, was a computer programmer, sitting there, typing in programs and code, and very, very logical brain, and doing that, and moved my way up to the top of that beautiful sort of slippery slope. And when I got to the top of it, I was looking around going, I've made it. Is this all there is to life? Like many of us do, I think. Or we had that moment. So my moment was getting to the top and going, okay, there's probably another route I should have gone. And I then found basically spirituality through the form of horses. There was this lady standing there doing something strange with a horse. She wasn't like patting it down or anything. I was like, what's she doing? So I went over and said, what are you doing? She said, I'm doing Reiki. I was like, what's that? Never heard of it. So she explained this energy healing thing. And that was the first sort of thing that got me into the healing world. And basically, because the horses were getting a bit older and they were getting a bit arthritic. And she said, oh yeah, this Reiki thing will work with it. So I went off on a Reiki course and fell down the rabbit hole of Reiki, and absolutely loved it, and became level 1, 2, and then a Reiki master. And the horses get it whenever they need it, and often when they don't need it, because just for me keep my hands in and practice. And horses, if you take a horse's age and triple it, that's the equivalent of the human age. So one of the horses is 32, so what's that, 96? So it proves it works. And the other one's 28, so what's that? Can't do the maths at the moment, but yeah. in the 80s. Was it 84? um, so as you can see, that's how I basically just got into it. And then my Reiki master who was teaching me, she went off and did this thing called Rahani celestial energy healing. And I was like, that sounds interesting. So I followed her and did that and became a practitioner in Rahani, which is very connected to all the angels and the archangels. And met Archangel Michael, and he came down and presented me a whole bunch of different gifts, which was quite amazing and powerful. And yeah, and then my now teacher that was teaching me Rahani was then going, "Have you heard of this thing called shamanism?" I was like, no, what's that? Isn't I was imagining sort of like some native Indian type person probably doing something like that. And she said, "Oh yeah, there is that, but it was also in the UK. There was Celtic shamanism, and there was shamanism throughout all of Europe." And yeah, so I started to learn shamanism, and when you find something and you think, why do I know this? You get that sort of feeling of like, oh, it feels like home. And it just shamanism just felt like home to me. And yeah, so the last 5-6 years I've studied with 5 shamanic teachers, working my way through the Peruvian side, the Colombian side, the Celtic side, more of the European, the North side, just so that I could get a feeling for it and see what the differences are and what they were. And then really the differences are the fact that there aren't any. it's all just slightly different rituals depending on the tribe that invented it. Norse ones, they have more worlds of the 9 worlds, and then in shamanism we have the 3 worlds. But yeah, that's my introduction. Any questions on that?
I think one of the things I've noticed is there's a lot of people that connect with dragons. They get their start with Reiki.
Yeah, that's what you said there. I mean, I think that's true. I think Reiki is like the first door, isn't it? Because you get attuned. Though I did read recently that the attunement part wasn't from the original Usui. He didn't do attunements. He said people couldn't attune themselves, but that came in later. But yeah, once you tap into that energy of the universe, I think it just opens you up to many different things. So for me, my 40 years in IT, very technical, very logical, like moving across, I moved into the Reiki first, and then I'll tell you when I first met a dragon. I've told it many times, but I'll say it again. It was, I wrote it down because I wasn't sure. It was April 2017, and again with horses is very big in my life when it comes to sort of the energies and the frequencies, because I think horses are so connected to the earth, and they're so powerful and magical and healing themselves. Well, anyway, aside, yeah, I was out for a ride on my horse, or I say I'm her human. I don't have ownership of her, and we've done this many times, and we were going the route we always go, which is fine, great. And then we were getting to the gate, which then goes through this sort of alleyway between a couple of fields, and then it goes to the big field where we gallop, have a charge around and get hot and sweaty. And she just wouldn't go there for this time, which is very unusual because she's not afraid of anything. We'd go past the combine harvesters and the big lorries and the motorbikes revving up and barking dogs. She's just like, yeah, whatever. She said the Shire horses are the ones that used to pull the carts and do the ploughing of the fields. They're very sensible. They're not like some of the flighty horses. Usually race horses are a bit flighty, but the Shire horses are just really calm, and they're big, so they're not really afraid of anything. But she was afraid of something, so I was like, fine, let's just go the long way around. So I went the long way around. We went for a mad gallop around the field and got hot and sweaty for about half an hour, and then we were coming back, and I was like, okay, we'll go back and see if there was something there that, maybe she saw a shadow or something, or imagined something. But as we go back through this sort of alleyway the other way, she just would go. It was like a no handbrake on, not going, no chance, Dad. I was thinking, but why? There's nothing there. It was a nice spring day. It was sunny. Yeah, that there was a low tree that maybe had a bit of a shape that maybe looked like something, but I couldn't see anything. So I just sitting there thinking, what's going on? So I said, okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna ask if there's something there. I don't know why I felt like I should ask, but I did. So I was like a bit pathetically said, hello, who's there? Yeah, I have no idea what I was expecting, and I sort of got this feeling like maybe you should ask with a bit more authority and like you really want to know. And I was like, okay, do I really want to know? What's my horse seeing? By this time, I knew my cat could see things, would see spirits that I hadn't seen, and I'd feel a chill. So I thought, oh, maybe my horse is seeing something. But let's have a look. So, when sometimes you're like, oh, okay, and you breathe in and you feel your courage in your belly button, and you sort of pull it up, don't you, through to your heart, and then I was like, who's there? That's what feeling a bit stupid. It's like there's no one else around, just me and my horse. And then there was like a shimmer in the field in front of us. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 50 feet or something like that in front of us. I just watched it. I was like, okay, what's that? And then it started at what I didn't know what it was, but it went along, and I was like, it looks a bit like a tail. That was strange. Okay. Then it went along, and there was like this big leg. I'm by someone like, oh, what the hell? And then there was a wing, then there was a body, then another leg, and then a neck, and then there was this huge head, but it was all see through. It was like water. It was like water floating, and it was like wobbling around. You could see through it, and I looked at it, and in the millisecond that I saw its eye, my horse was just like, I've had enough, and she basically span 180 degrees, and I was like, whoa, and that was it. We were gone. And we charged back to the stables, and somebody said, what's going on? What's going on? I think she saw a monster. I'm thinking, I've lost the plot. I've obviously been working too many hours. I'm hallucinating. I'm seeing things. I was like, okay, I've lost the plot. So I went back afterwards just to see if it was there, but it wasn't. And I just thought, I really have lost the plot. I didn't tell anyone for like 3 days. Then I told my wife, and she said, well, if your horse saw something, maybe there was something there. And I told my two coaches at the time, and they were very sort of business coaches and a little bit into landmarks, so slightly into spirituality, but I don't think they'd ever heard of dragons, and they sort of like, okay, So I thought nothing of it. I was like, okay, I I had a moment. I'm gonna put that aside, forget about it, and then it kept sort of niggling at me, and it wasn't until one day I was a conference. It was a conference about investing in property, and someone said there, oh, we've got a lady that she's a shamanic person. She's holding space for us, so that this conference goes well. Well, sounds interesting. And there was something about it, when you meet someone or you see someone at a distance, you think, oh, I need to speak to them. And I don't know why, but I need to speak to her. I was like, okay. So she's at lunchtime, she actually came and sat on the table opposite me, and she said, someone's told me that you need to speak to me. I was like, oh yeah, I told someone that'd be nice to speak to you. She said, why is that? So I was like, I'm not really sure why I need to speak to you. I just feel like I do. And anyway, the conversation got on, and she started talking about her shamanic stuff. And then she said, yeah, of course, I work with my dragons. I was like, that's why I need to speak to you. I was like, what's this about working with dragons? And then once she explained, I was like, okay. I told her my whole dragon story, and she's like, interesting. She said, you need to come and visit me. So I did. I went and visited her in Wales, which is the land of the dragons, the great big red dragon. And she took me into her shamanic workshop. I laid down on the couch, and she got her drum out. She's playing the drum and sent me on a journey and the rest of it. And she then said, there's something here that I need to blow into your heart. And she blew, it felt like she blew really hot air into my heart. And she said, I'm blowing the energy of a red dragon into your heart. She said, you'll need to use it. I was like, okay. So she did that, and like into my heart. I was like, wow, that's amazing, powerful. And then again, I didn't think much more of the dragons after that. It's like, wow, I've got a dragon in here. yeah, I just then went off and did my Reiki, and dragons never got mentioned. Then I did my Rahani, and dragons never got mentioned. And then I did shamanic healing. When I did the shamanic healing, the teacher was talking about when sometimes you can have energy orbs or entities or attachments or cords that can attach to you when you're having traumatic experiences, um, or even just simple things like, let's say you bang your hand, and things can come in to help heal it, but sometimes they don't go once you've healed, and those can then just start absorbing your energy, and you end up with like an entity on you. And it seems that I had a lizard one up my arm. I'd hurt my arm once quite badly playing hockey, and it healed up. It's still a bit now not perfect, but she said you've got something on there, and she said we're going to use the dragon as a healing dragon to remove that. We're not going to rip it off. We're going to persuade it to come off, and the dragon's going to be there as a presence of wisdom and power and healing and energy. And then the dragon, once this entity is removed, will take it to where it wants to live, where it wants to be. It's like, wow, these dragons are powerful things, aren't they? So literally, I saw this lizard type thing that was not good for me, had been originally. I literally saw it start to come off, and there's this big, huge claw hand, which obviously a dragon hand, came in and just lifted it up gently and took it away. And when it went, I was like, oh wow, I can really feel that. And that was like my first introduction to how the dragons can come in and assist you with healing. And of course, that just made me think, right, okay, so I need to understand this power of the dragons. There was something about it, having seen a dragon, having the dragon heart, having the dragon take away this thing on my arm. It's like, there's a message here. You know, I always say, if you want to get my attention, say it 3 times. Yeah, if I see something, I think, oh, if that's real, show me it twice more, and I'll believe that you really want me to take notice of it. So I was like, okay, the dragons are here. I need to take notice of this. So I went on shamanic journeys, and when I went on these shamanic journeys, my whole intention was literally to understand who these dragons are, where they come from, why they're there, what do they want with me, do they want to assist me, what's going on. So yeah, so I went on a whole bunch of journeys, and I met 3 main dragons, and that's Agatha, Sophia, and George, and they're like my 3 main dragons that are always here. There's also a black dragon that doesn't really have a name. I call her Ninja because she's like everywhere and anywhere, and she's sort of like assisting and helping and protecting and all, just literally all over the place. So I've got those 4 main dragons that are there with me, and I've been on many journeys where I've met dragons that are maybe there was one that needed rescuing. There's some that I've been on journeys to in the past, and been to Atlantis and met a dragon there called Seraphim. But yeah, so many of them, they came into my life, I think, just to sort of give me confidence. I think, like many of us, I worked in corporate for all that time, and you become a bit like, well, I need to do what these people tell me to do, and you just become a cog, and it's like, well, I need to come out of being the cog of that big corporate thing, and do my own thing, but I wasn't sure what. And I think, really the dragons gave me the courage to say, okay, I need to do something I've got to the top of my career, but I need to do something that's different, something that doesn't just feed my bank account, but feeds my soul. Because I would always say that I might go, oh, you got a really good job, blah, blah. I said, yeah, but it doesn't feed my soul. Mum, it doesn't feed my soul. It's like hollow, it's empty. I need something that feeds my soul. And the dragons definitely feed my soul. And having worked with them and a lot through my shamanic training. They assisted me all the way through my shamanic diploma. So I've now got a diploma that means that it's opened up the healing world to the National Health Service in the UK. It's recognised by the government. It's only been out 2 years, so it's powerful and strong. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to use the dragons in that, but I'm sure they'll come through and assist. Yeah, working with the dragons. Are there any questions that you need to ask?
No, there's not any questions, just some comments.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I can then sort of say what the dragons did recently. I mean, recently the dragons started saying you're a bit of a lone wolf, and actually a wolf came into my shamanic temple and wanted to not be a lone wolf itself anymore. I was like, okay, I get the message. So what do I need to do? And that's when I went on a shamanic journey, and I was like, okay, I've got these skills, I've got the training, you've set the groundwork for me. I left the corporate world in February last year, and I went full time as the English mystic, shamanic, Reiki, Hani, healer. It's like, which is great. I'm enjoying it. But what is there? What else is there? It feels like, when you feel like there's more. I'm like, what more is there? What can I do for you? And they were like, glad you asked that question. I was like, oh no, what am I letting myself in for? They're like, you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm sure. They're like, okay, so what we'd like you to do is bring dragons more into the world for us. I was like, okay, how do I do that? And they're like, why don't you just get a bunch of dragon people together? Called it the Dragon Thunder Summit. It's like, well, I like the sound of that, thunder, yeah. So that's their word, thunder. They have a bunch of dragons is a thunder. You can imagine all the wings. So I was like, okay, all right, fine. I was like, how many people do I know that talk about dragons? Wow, about a handful. Okay, and like, don't worry about that. Just start it. Okay. And they always say to me, you humans, you overcomplicate everything. You really do. And like, take the next step. Don't worry about the one after that. Take the next step. Do the next step to the best of your ability. Then stop. Do the next step to the best of your ability. Stop being over here in the future or in the past. Stop making it complicated. I was like, okay, got you. So I put it out to the people I knew, and within 2 weeks I had 5 speakers. I'm like, yes, cool. And they're like, is that enough? And they're like, you could ask for some more. I'm like, I'm not sure who. They're like, we'll send them to you. I was like, cool. So I just put it out there. I created the Facebook group and a landing page, and this tide of people came flooding in. There was 30 people came along who talk about dragons with passion. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And yeah, over the beginning of this month, every day I was talking to someone or recording with someone or planning with someone the whole Dragon Thunder Summit, and the time just flew by, and it was I just absolutely loved it. It's like you know a little bit, and you got your little corner of dragons, and then it just expanded to all these beautiful people, these beautiful souls. Barbara there with her East Coast dragons, and then you got people in South Africa with their dragons, and every country. I mean, unfortunately, we didn't get into China and Japan and places like that, which is fine. We will eventually. I'm sure they'll come out to us. But yeah, it was just beautiful meeting so many souls, and everyone was saying, "Thank goodness that it's being put on this thing, because we got the call as well, but we didn't do anything with it." And I was like, well, exactly, it's not mine. It's the dragons. All I am is the human with the technical skills of 40 years of IT. That's probably why they picked me. Clever people, clever dragons. So I put that out there, and I'm just a conduit. And the whole way through this is like, this isn't mine. This is all of ours. And I think that's what the energy is in the Dragon Thunder in the Facebook group. People realize that, and it's there, and I just handed over the reins. Like, who wants to be admin of this? Yeah, fine, you do that. And it's a lovely group. Everyone's so into dragons. Yeah, and that's just it. The dragons pull it all together, and I think that's why it works so well. And then Barbara started her dragon, days, and I started my dragon talks. And then I was like, well, we need to do one next year as well. Maybe do it in person. And it was getting too complicated to do it in person, so I was like, oh, let's just do another one online. I was like, we've got so many people. How are we going to get all of these amazing people out there? And having done the one this year, which does feel like last year, Barbara, even though it was only July this year, I think there was so much energy there that it's sort of like blown time out, certainly. And I have to say, sitting there watching every single of the live ones, watching all the replays, editing them, and all of it, I literally left the planet. I think I was in another solar system somewhere, and there was like my cord was still attached to Earth. Like about 3 months, slowly pulled myself back. When I got back, I was like, okay, dragons have got a message here, and they want it spread. And it's great because the 1,700 or so people that signed up for the Dragon Thunder are now finding their person that they resonate with. It's not about me, it's about Barbara, it's about all of the other speakers, and the people going and finding the one that they resonate with, and then maybe watching a video from someone else that they weren't sure if they resonated with, and then they watch it and go, oh wow, that's a different view of dragons. And I think that's the whole thing. The dragons just want people to realize that, one, they're real, two, they have absolute unconditional love for us. And the other day on the Dragon Talk, somebody was sort of saying, just imagine the most love you've ever felt in your life, the most love you've ever felt for you, or you for something else. Now, feel that. Really feel that in your heart, that love. Maybe you've got a child coming. Maybe you've got a grandmother you always really loved. Your grandmother really loved you. You can just feel it's the power of the love. And they're saying the dragons for you have got that, but hugely galactic size love for you. And that I sort of tapped it. It's like, yeah, they really have. And they're almost like angels, but in dragon shape. They're here to love us, protect us, and help us with whatever it is we're going through at the moment. We all know we're going through something. Humanity is changing. We're all waking up to the SHIT of the world, and I think they're there to help us. And other things the dragons say to me is, and other people have said this, keep asking us. Us humans, we get a bit like, oh, I've asked 3 times, maybe I shouldn't ask it. They're like, keep asking. We love you unconditionally. Keep asking. Even it's a simple thing, like somebody was saying the other day, find a parking space or clear the traffic out of the way. I mean, I did it whenever I go for a drive now. I imagine the one in front, one above me, one behind me, and when I get there, there's going to be a parking space, and invariably there is. Using it as simple as that. But I'm also using them in healing. I'm also using them to go places and find other dragons that have been imprisoned. Quite a few, I don't have enough information, but at some point in the past, there was more of a connection between us humans and the dragons. Something happened and broke that connection, and something degraded our frequency and enchained quite a lot of dragons. And there are some out there that still need rescuing, definitely. So I've sort of taken that on as a bit of a thing to do. I don't really advertise it out there too much, but I do that. It's always beautiful. And then, what else do the dragons say to me? They're like, all those musings that you've got, well, put them together in a book. I'm like, I'm not an author. I'm going to put a book together. And then I've got a friend that is an author and written like 30 books or something. He's like, oh, we'll just put it together. Don't worry about it. Just put it together and use that Amazon thing to get it done. So I did. So I'm an author. I wrote this 80-page book with dragons, which is literally just a whole bunch of stories and stuff that I'd collected literally for myself in my notes. And so I am a published author about dragons. I mean, who knew that? And then they came to me and said, we've got something else for you to do. I was like, okay. Uh-oh. And then there's a whole body of work out there. There's a load of cards and there's loads of things that people use to connect to the dragons, and they are all amazing. And I have to know, I know they are because my shelf is full of them. After the Dragon Thunder Summit, I'm like, oh, I need to buy that one. I need to buy that one, and I've gone bad. I've got dragon cards everywhere, and I'm like, what dragon card shall I use today? And it's like, there's not enough days in the month. But anyway, they're all there, and they were saying we want people to go a bit deeper and not just look at the card and go, that's what it means. They said we want them to look at runes. I was like, runes? They're like, yeah, runes. I was like, well, I was like, oh, they're like those Nordic things. Yeah, those things. So they got me to sit down with a computer and just create some simple runes. And they said, keep them simple. It's like, okay. So we did. We just created all these beautiful runes, and we've got these rainbow color ones, and then we've got them also in wood. And basically what they are, you get the earth dragon, you get the soul dragon, the south dragon, and there's 27 of them. And the important thing they said to me was that each one of these represents a dragon. And that dragon came in to me. They actually all came in one time, and it was a bit like a noisy concert. And I was like, shh, can't hear you. And so they came in one by one. And over literally before the Dragon Thunder, and then after the Dragon Thunder, and all the way through to last few months, it's been coming together. They also got me to create some artwork for them. And then the important thing they said, what you need to do is people need to connect with the dragon of the rune. So all the rune is you sit down with it and you say, this is my intention, this is what I want to work on. And then I'll say, okay, well, the dragon that's coming through for you is, say, what's this one? The wood dragon. So all you then do is you read the small piece of information about the wood dragon, but they said the most important thing is you need to connect with the dragon. And they said that's what people are not doing. People aren't connecting with us, the dragons. They're reading a bit of card, they're reading a booklet. That's all great, but that literally is like say you've got a 15-page CV and you're in a lift with someone and you've got 30 seconds. That's what these cards are. They're like the 30-second opening. The important bit is you need to go into a room and sit with the dragon and ask them exactly what they mean, and go with your intention for where it is. I don't know, let's say you've got the flu and the wood dragon comes up. So you go on a journey to the wood dragon and say, how can you help me? How can you heal me? And you go on that journey with the intention of connecting with the wood dragon. And what they said to me was, put this all together and create a course and run it in a loop so people can join whenever they want. So we started last week, and tomorrow we're on rune 1. We're going to go through the 27 runes, and then if somebody started at rune 15, that's fine. They just go through 27 and you do 1 to 14 or whatever it is that they want to do. So yeah, that was powerful and came into me. What else do I want to say? I wanted to share with you this beautiful thing, which is a heart. You can see that. And a friend of mine creates them, and she knew I was into dragons, and she tapped into the energy of it, and she looks into the Akashic records, the rest of it, and she came up with dragon heart, and she created this beautiful tree which sits on my temple, and as I say, it's a beautiful dragon heart. Cool. Any comments or questions? This has popped up.
So I just wrote, when you were talking about that, to go deeper, I've been receiving that message. So I was actually using Oracle cards, and at some point, I can't remember what, again, time, since I've done this Dragon Thunder, time was like, I know when it was, but it feels like just a while ago that they kept saying just what you said, that you need to connect with the dragon, not just read it. And then they sort of shut down communicating with me for a couple of weeks because they also said they realized, because what dragons do, we've all experienced this, you say, what can I do? And they just keep giving you, like, it just keeps coming. It's like, oh, you've done this, or you got this, and how about going over here? And I felt like there was way too much, right? And I had to say, whoa. And they actually told me that we realize what we've done. We forget that you're not a dragon because we're human. So, and it's given me a completely different, and from that point of them saying, you need to connect with that dragon, things have changed for me, like in the last month, completely different. I also took level 1 dragon empowerment Reiki, and that's like, I've gone to a whole nother out there.
Oh, wow.
But I just, when you said that, I'm like, that's what I heard. Because I think there are still not that, I mean, there's a lot of other oracle cards. There's still not that in the grand scheme of things. Dragons are still very small. But I think, especially in United States, it's very fast paced. People want, give me something. Oh, yeah, that dragon. Okay. They don't want to take the time. And I think that's what they're asking us to do.
Yeah, I agree that it's all a bit surface level. Yeah, and they're saying you need. They tell me that they've been around forever. They are forever, and therefore the wisdom they have is huge, and anything that you would ever need to be answered is there. Yeah, and some people won't resonate with dragons. Some people are going to resonate with unicorns and fairies and whatever, and that's fine. That's just the way the universe works. If you believe in dragons, you just have a feeling for it, don't you? You just have an affinity with them, and that's what they're saying. Attract the people that have that affinity, and just wake them up a bit more to come deeper, so that they're getting fully embodied wisdom, that they're stopping and listening, however that is. Whether they go on a shamanic journey, or whether they just sit in nature, or they just sit simply in silence, or whatever it is. Everyone I think knows how to go internally and connect to their guides, and if they don't, there's many things out there for people to tap into and how to do that. And if people are completely stuck, just to let me know, and I can share some links to free resources and all the rest of it. But yeah, I agree that I think the dragons are going around and telling all the people that are connected to them to go deeper, and yeah, I don't know where it's going. And sometimes my brain, the project planning brain, my 40 years in IT, that I need to know all the beginning to the end, is like, and then I'm going, no, next step, and I'm having an internal battle at times. But then I look back and I go, hold on a sec, did that step, did that step, did that step, did that step. I look back to it, that the first time I saw that person putting their hands strangely on their horse, all the way through to meeting the dragon, and if you draw that out over a timeline, you go, yeah, okay, I trust you. And I have to say that's more and more I do. I trust them more and more. And I think if you step up and show that you trust them, and do that leap of faith, then they do come and say, will you do this, will you do this? And like you say, they forget that you are a poor, simple little human that's got a bit of a small brain compared to their planet-sized one. And yeah, a few people have told me that they all come at once to them, and I think there's people that were channeled art in as part of the Dragon Thunder were telling us that, and they had the same thing. They like 3 months they were just doing the art, and dragons can be a bit overpowering because they forget. I mean, we humans do it ourselves. Sometimes we'll talk to people and we forget that they're not on the same wavelength of us, and sometimes you have to sort of put it back. And that's one of the things they've said to me is make sure people realise they have sovereignty. You humans have more sovereignty than you realise, and you give it away mostly in your life, and is to reclaim it and to say to us, it's too much. Yeah, we won't take offence. We don't take offence. Yeah, it's if your mum gave you 5 extra potatoes on your dinner because she loves you so much, you're like, I can't eat any more, mum. She's not going to take an offence. She'll pack it out for you. You can take it home. The same thing with the dragons. They'll just put it over there. And they're like, all right, looks like he's ready now. And they'll send it in, and you'll have it come into you. I asked recently, what's next? It's like the Dragon Thunder 24 or Galactic Dragon Thunder, as they want it to be called, is done and ready, and we're ready to go. What do you want me to do next? And they were like, healing. The healing, you need to get it out to people, to not just through shamanic roots and Reiki roots and Rahani and whatever other modality, but dragon healing. Same as you've got Dragon Reiki, haven't you?
Yeah.
They just said, tell people that when they're doing that connection to us, they don't need any of the fancy stuff. As long as they're connecting to us, then there's healing energy there for them. So do come to us with your ailments, with your issues. And I think that's one of the people who, I think it was Fiona on the Dragon Talks, was talking about that, how she uses them all the time now to do everything. She asks them, like, can you help me with this? I want to manifest a house for my now husband and his two boys and my two boys, and it needs to be a 4-bedroom one. I want it to be in France, and I want this, and I want that, and I want a pool, and blah blah. She said, and I gave it to them, and she said, I believe they gave it to me because I now have that. So she said, use them in manifesting, use them in healing. And for me, that's come through as you are already using them in healing, but explain that. So that's what I've got. I just literally put the dates together yesterday, November 9, 16 and 23rd, dragonshealing.com. The website was available, so right, that's it. So literally I'm just going to put something together to show people how to connect to the dragon and how to ask for healing. I think that's what the dragons want.
Yeah, that's somebody else has just said. Judy said that they keep reassuring her that they aren't upset that she can't keep up with all the things that they suggest.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is true. Yeah, but that is, I think that's what I've heard people talk about as well, is the healing aspect. I think everybody thinks of them as being so big and strong that we forget that that energy is really heart-centered,
Yeah.
and that they want to do that. And Alan probably can talk about that because he uses Dragon. You did Dragon Reiki, right? The Pendragon Reiki and the healing. So there's this other group of people that actually started just with Dragon Reiki, which
Yep.
Alan was one of them, and somebody else I'd connected to. They've never done any other Reiki, just Dragon Reiki. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. So that's all they know is the dragons are there healing, heal ourselves, all of that stuff. So again, there's all these other, but that is really exciting that you're doing a website that people can figure out how to use it for healing. That's awesome. I'll be the first one to sign up.
There you go. So I've been told that my mission is to help heal the water. Yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah, I mean, the dragons definitely are there for healing the land. I mean, that's for me. They're there for healing the land. So whenever I connect to them, they want me to go to certain places. Like I've been to Peru, and there's some there. They wanted a ceremony done to help heal the land. At Avebury, at Stonehenge. I went there with a friend who's a wizard, and we did some healing there, and we saw some things got released and the rest of it. And he does that full time, not necessarily with dragons, but he goes around sort of healing the land. So he goes to places where there's been a lot of trauma. You know, maybe there's been forest fires or there's been massacres in like Tiananmen Square. He was there clearing that once. So yeah, and the dragons sort of say use us to do that, because we can take whatever energy it is, and we don't destroy. We take it somewhere where it's better serving its purpose, because you can't destroy energy. Nothing can destroy energy. So that's what I always was taught in shamanism, that they literally taking it, you know, in a threatening way, but without actually ripping it away from you if you've got something. So they're sort of almost persuading it to move on, and they're like, there's a better life somewhere else for you here, and that's what they do. But their presence is big and strong and powerful. But yeah, the healing part of it for me, a lot of the times it's their fire. So often I'll ask for like a cleansing or a cleaning or whatever, because I've been doing something that's felt like it's something got attached to me, even though I'm protecting myself. It happens sometimes, and I'll just say to them, "Can I have? Can you?" And they'll stand around me and literally blow fire at me, and sometimes it's red, sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's white, and it's just like a full-on cleansing.
Mhm.
And in shamanism, there's a thing where you go on a journey called a dismemberment
Yeah.
journey, where you literally your physical body goes on a journey to one of the realms, and is dismembered. And for me, what they do is they literally burn me to a pile of ash, and then my essence comes out of the ash like a phoenix, I suppose. Doesn't look like a phoenix; it's like a little flame, and it just comes back to me, because it's being cleansed. Everything is gone. Whatever was attached, anything was just removed, and the ash sort of gets blown away, and it goes to wherever it needs to go, which is beautiful.
That's cool. Yeah. So my call, what the dragons have told me after I worked my way up there with ascended masters and things, is my connection to the galactics and the galactic dragons. So
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you. I know you said that you rescue some dragons, but you don't
Yep.
talk about it much. I've encountered a couple of galactic dragons that are still hiding,
Mhm.
probably since Atlantis, Lemuria, because they all
Yep.
scattered when Atlantis left, and they're not even aware, or they're told that they can't go on the surface
Mhm.
because it's too dangerous, and they've not actually ever flown. Um, and I was told that if I didn't know what to do, just leave them alone. They will connect with me again. And it was a
Yep.
interesting process how they got my connection. I was getting a series of numbers, and I didn't
Mhm.
know what. I just kept repeating these numbers, and I wrote them down. They still made no sense, so I just applied the alphabet, just very
Yep.
simple, because I'm like, this can't be difficult. And they were giving me their names in
Uh,
that form, and very briefly said, "We're still scared. We're hiding." So maybe it's something I need to connect with you on another. But there are lots, and I hear lots of people say that they're either working with dragons that are stuck under the ground, or but you've got to be
yeah.
gentle with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are people out there that are doing that full time, sort of rescuing spirits that have been imprisoned at some point. But yeah, you can just feel into it. And what I always do whenever I'm not sure, I just go and sit with my dragon and say, should we even be doing this? And sometimes they'll be like, no, this is too complicated. Leave it alone. We know about it, but yeah, the energy that's imprisoned them is too powerful, or whatever it is. And other times they say, yeah, go ahead and do it. This is what you need to do. This is the process. Bring us along. We'll be there. And it's like anything. It's never particularly complicated. It's the intention is to go and rescue. I mean, the times that
Yeah.
have rescued, normally they're in chains. The chains is the physical thing that you see, but actually the chains, they could break the chain so easily. It's more that something's magical has imprisoned them, and you just have to imagine that you're pulling the power of the universe for good, and all the good energy is coming in, and all you are is the pure channel of that energy, and you're just like, I'm breaking the chains and I'm breaking the spell. There's yeah, I mean, they tell you some things to say, some incantations and whatever, just to help so you don't get chained up yourself, sort of thing.
That would be just my luck, right? Go in there to
No, no,
help,
no,
not think about it.
no, you'll be fine.
No, I know.
You'll be good. Cool. What else is it? What else can I tell you about dragons? I've wrote down a load of bunch of things here. Blah blah blah. The other thing I can share with you is that I teach shamanism as well. So if anyone is interested in learning shamanism, I created it as like the initiate, novice, and healer, and then after that, really the master bit is for you to work out yourself, because by that time you'll have all your guides and the rest of it. And my next course starts in February, and that's 11-month course, so it takes you from not knowing anything all the way through to be able to do healing or if there's those people that just like to dabble their toes in things, then there's like the initiate level just takes you through and gets you set up as a, you know, understanding what shamanism is. And the novice gets you some healing modalities that are useful for yourself. And then the healer level takes you through to things like psycho pump, soul retrieval, dismemberment journey, healings with the dragons and other powerful beings. And I basically pulled all of the knowledge that I've had from my many shamanic teachers together and put that together. And it's available if anyone's interested. And I always love teaching people, and I love seeing people grow as they step into it. At the moment, we've got 3 beautiful ladies that are become very powerful, and when the 3 of them get together, the power of 3, it's a lot of magic happens and stuff that I'm like, wow, how did that occur? You know, like the other day, we all went on a journey together, and we all met each other's guides and spirit guides and family, which was, I was like, how did we do that? That was amazing. And but yeah, that's there for you if you're interested. Anything else I can think of? No, I suppose the next thing is just to say, you know, we do have the Dragon Talks each month, and they're free. And then the next big thing is obviously the Galactic Dragon Thunder in July next year. I'm sure Barbara will post a bunch of links and the rest of it. But if you need to find me, it's easiest, englishmystic.com, and then everything's there all over the place. And if you can't find it, just message me and I'll send you in the right direction. But yeah, the dragons are the ones that are in charge. When you work with the dragons, they're very powerful. And if you receive them into your life, then it will change a lot. So if you don't want it to change, don't call them in. That's all I can say. But the ride is beautiful, and literally that flying on the back of a dragon, which you get to do a lot in the shamanic realms or the other realms, is beautiful. And everything of mine is dragons. Even my notebooks have got dragons on them. So
I know
cool.
you do land up collecting all sorts of things with dragons on, even if you didn't intend to.
Yeah, like dragon eggs.
Yeah, I've got dragon eye pendant.
Yeah, that's
So
what happens, isn't it? They
is,
call
yeah,
you.
they do, yeah. So has anybody got any questions for Keven? I mean, feel free to ask a question.
Don't be afraid.
I was just going to put your website in here, but I need to make sure I've got it right. So
yeah, it's just my name, like you can see on here with a .com on the end.
.com, just englishmystic.com.
Yeah.
All right.
And everything is available from there. Oh, I should tell, I've got a podcast as well. And the podcast is really just me sharing everything else that's available out there. So if I have a chat with someone, I'll stick it on the podcast. You know, it's like some people like to watch things, some people like to listen, some like to download it for later. So
yeah, I've got somebody that does my website for me, and I just send it to her and she puts it on my website because I'm not that technological.
That's right.
But I think you're right. People sometimes just want to listen. Some people want to watch something when they have free time. I'm probably like other people. If I don't do it in the moment, you know, it's a bit like books. You've got all those books that piled up, and we forget to read them. As you're talking about books, I hadn't really been looking, but there's a book called Dragonology, which I've got it under here. I did not know there was a book called Dragonology. I was like so excited about this. Let me see if I can.
Dragonology.
Dragonology, and it was not that expensive. It's so it's $29.90. I actually got it for $15 on Amazon. It is the complete book of dragons, and like written like old. It's like got all this old English because I've got my background on. I'll put it there, but it literally is everything you want to know about dragons, and it's like somebody's old book, and it talks about the Chinese dragons and what they look like. It's got little cool little things like little note in there that you pull out. So yeah, this, and then you just go down the rabbit hole, right? Because then there was other books about dragons, but this one's really cool because it even shows you like what a dragon, the skeleton of a dragon, and all the parts of a dragon. So yeah, dragonology. Who knew?
Wow. When was that written? Is it a fairly old book?
No,
It's not fairly new, is it?
it looks like it's old, but it's
That's just done in that way to make it. Yeah.
oh, so it's actually from Massachusetts. Handlewick.com. Trying to see what the date is here. Let's see. But I found it just on weird. It doesn't actually say. It doesn't look like it's that old.
Judy says she bought it for her grandson when he was small. He's 13 now, so it might have been around a while.
Yeah.
I'll have to find it out.
Yeah.
I love collecting all the old books and all the.
But it looks like an old book, and then it has this like this note in it, which there's a little note that comes in it.
Yeah, well.
I mean, I guess probably not young kids, but like teenagers might like it. But any of us that are into dragons, was the natural history of dragons' behavior, which I haven't read. I bought it, and I have to start reading it. Oh, released 2003. So I guess, I mean, it's still in the 21st century.
That's cool. Another one to add to the list.
Right. That's what I mean. It's never ending, isn't it? So I find if I could, sometimes I'll listen to something that's been recorded just on my headphones, so I don't see it, but I listen to it as well. So I think that's where podcasts are good as well.
Yeah. And, everyone takes it in a different way, don't they? Some of us are visual, some of us are verbal.
Yeah, they do. But you're talking about how people were doing painting like last year. That's something a gift that I've just recently been given is channeled painting, which
wow.
And I don't even know what I'm painting. So I recently did. I just put it on my Facebook page. I've got probably about 5 or 6, but I've been asking about dragon ley lines. And I started off literally with the red background, and I'm like, I don't even know what this is. And they tell me that when I'm getting this download, that I'm putting keys and codes on the outside. So there's all, and then when I took actually the dragon that I sketched, I could see the keys and codes in it once I took a photo of it. But they were showing me some ley lines that after I finished it, I was like, I don't even know what that is. And it was actually where I live. They were pointing out the ley lines in a painting, in painting it. And I'm a self-taught sort of. I pick, if I see picture, I take photos and then I'll paint pictures from them. I've never ever done anything freestyle. I've got one sitting here that was Egyptian pyramids with keys and codes being downloaded. So it's sort of fascinating. I mean, it's sort of another way of chat, because I channel, but they're channeling me to do paintings, and they're telling me afterwards. So, yeah. You never know what's coming next. I know. And mine's only been a couple of years, and I'm like, where am I going now?
It's great though, isn't it? It's just so exciting.
It is, because there's, ascended masters sometimes have their own dragons, or they sometimes become dragons. So all of my preparation was working with ascended masters and angels and archangels. And then I started encountering, their counterparts, or them turning into, and they were like, you see, this was all connected. I mean, they like connect the dots for you, which is nice, because I said yesterday that everything I know about dragons, they've told me. but then you talk to other people and they're saying the same thing, right? Because there isn't like a textbook to go and say, oh, this is all about dragons.
Exactly. That's why they're saying connect to the dragons to find out more.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I tell people when they're like, is this right? Or should I'm like, ask them. You know, if you're
Yeah.
not sure, just ask them what is my connection? Why am I seeing you now?
Yeah, yeah, I think we've all got become afraid to ask for some reason. I get that question a lot, like, "Oh, this, that, blah, blah," and they get this really long story, and can you help me with it? And I just come out and say, "It's a lovely story, but ask the dragon." I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Ask the
Or
dragon.
yeah,
Connect. Yeah,
or they say, what's my dragon's name? I'm like, ask them.
yeah,
Because sometimes, so this is another thing they say, is it's very human for us to want to name them.
yeah,
They actually don't really care, but if it makes us feel better, they give us a name. I
yeah,
actually
yeah,
had a few that thought they were funny and
yeah.
started giving me very old English names like Gertie and Ernie. And they
Yeah,
have a sense
they
of humor
do.
as well.
Yeah, they do have a sense of humour, don't they? Yeah, and they're, on that name thing, a few people said to me, "You shouldn't be sharing your dragon's name. That means they can be imprisoned." It's like that's not their real name. That's like I'm the English mystic. That's not my real name. Yeah,
No,
it's the same thing. It's just a pseudonym they've given you, like you
right,
say, so that you can just call them in. You know, it's like well, I've got some lions in my temple. One's called Leo, the other one's called Leonie. I mean, it's not really their real names. It's
right.
just something so that you can call them in. And I did actually ask one of my dragons, Sophia, once. I said, "What's your real name?" Just give it to me. She's like, um, "You're human, so you won't understand it." I'll try. And she said because it's frequency, it's visual, it's tone, it's sound, it's just everything, and it's more than your human body
Yep.
can even understand. She says,
Right.
"Oh, I have to tone it down a bit," and then she just did this sort of like
Yeah.
I saw colours. I heard high pitch. I felt like a choir was singing around me. I
Mm,
felt my heart go. Boom, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, I get it now." She said,
right.
and
It's like
that was
to
just, I toned it down, you know.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So just realised how long
I know you've actually
my life.
done well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have, and it's still being recorded. So I'll actually stop the recording now